Thank you all for coming. My name is Tony Smith. I am with Round Rock Entertainment. I have offices in New York and Houston, production offices in Sydney with our partners, and in London as well. Our company basically media and digital branding, and as well as event production. We are normally in the sports and fashion industry, and it's our first time in Sundance, so we're actually getting into the film industry, so it's great. We have a great partner who helped me get there. Where's he? Gotham. Hopefully a lot of them know him. His company is, his company, I don't know, I think I need this right now. His company is Cloud 21, and basically does digital media, and he has a lot of clients, I think, here at Sundance as well. We have a great panel talking with indie filmmakers, with talent, trends, and tools. Our company actually is doing a documentary coming up this summer for a Broadway performance we're doing at the Gershwin Theater. So not only is this for the filmmakers here, but I'm learning too. So without further ado, we have a great panel. Our first panelist has produced over 80 films, including Everest, Lone Survivor, Rambo. Many of you know him, and his name is Randall Emmett. And we have next, our actor and director. His film, A Reasonable Request, is here at Sundance, so give him some love. And his name is Andrew Mark. COO and co-founder of Bondit, and looking to give $80,000 away to indie filmmakers this year. His name is Lou Taylor. An award-winning director with her work shortlisted for the Oscars, and she's a WISFF alumni. And her name is Barbara Stepanski. A little tight up there. Oh my God. And our final panelist, contributing writer for Inc. Magazine, Business.com, and for Entrepreneur, and a recent TED Talks presenter. His name is Samuel Edwards. So really the focus, the objective of this panel is to help filmmakers find the trends, the tools, and talent to be able to get their films made, produced, seen, things of that nature, and these people have done this. And so we're going to start with the first questions through. We will be asking if anyone from the audience has any questions, and if you do, I'll basically kind of wait to that time, and we'll go from there. First question, I'm going to kind of push it to Randall. With all these talented filmmakers today, are people getting more talented, or do they have more tools to kind of hide the shortcomings? How do you feel indie filmmakers are going these days?
So I think the bar is set much higher today. I just think over time, we just keep pushing the envelope in the industry. I also think tools have definitely elevated, the art. When I was in film school, we didn't have digital. We shot in 16mm and Super 8, and, had to go to moviolas. And so today, I really think there's just so many more people making movies today because of the digital, explosion, that you can have a laptop, you can have a camcorder, and we find incredible talent that way versus, in the old days, so to speak, you really had to find more traditional routes to make movies. That's my take on it.
Okay. Anyone else want to add to that? No. All right. Okay. So I'll say this for Luke. With so much access and availability for filmmakers, what processes do you find, basically, when you're looking to get those $20,000 every quarter? What processes do you do so that filmmakers can have access to those funds?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll sort of give an introduction to the grant that we're providing. We partnered with Screencraft, which is a tremendous sort of talent discovery platform. In operation for years, sort of running these various screenplay competitions. And we, my other firm, Buffalo Way Productions, has teamed up quite a few times to run these programs. And more recently, we decided to actually back a grant fund storytellers, provide them with the ability in an industry that has such difficult barriers to entry. I think, yes, the technology has been democratized and it's easier maybe to make a film, but in terms of actually getting out there and making meaningful moves within the industry, I think it's quite challenging. So I think the idea is to provide those resources. It's find these storytellers and make sure that they have the tools, financing needed to be discovered and help, again, sort of navigate that second half of the industry to really make those moves and to make a meaningful product.
Okay, so with that available to us, all of us, what do we do? We go to the website, we call it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think whether you go to Screencraft, Bondit, or Publicity, you're going to find links to be able to apply to the grant fund. So that's bondit.us, screencraft.org, buffaloproductions.com, and that's sort of the first step. We're very open to and receptive to speaking one-on-one and sort of learning about projects on an ad hoc basis. But I think number one place to do it is to jump online and sign up.
Next question. So for Barbara, when you as a filmmaker at WISF alumni, how did they help you find the resources, the help, the advice? How did you reach out to them initially, and how did they help you get to where you are today?
Well, when I was an alum, it was called the Angeles Film Festival, which is now resurrected. I'm so happy about that because it's been such an amazing journey with Angeles and with Windrider Forum. I've really kind of curated a family with Windrider, and I'm always happy to come back and talk to filmmakers, talk about their projects. They're always there when I need them, so I don't know if that answers your question. But
Well, I guess, what services, I mean, we're filmmakers and we go to them, what are they going to be able to offer us, what can we offer them, what are the tangibles? Can they help us with our business process? Can they help us go in the right direction? Can they help us with marketing? What do they do at film festival other than just marketing the film out?
Well, there's two things that are special, and one is the money. Because there's so few film festivals out there that actually make it possible for you to make your budget back on a short. Windrider is probably one of very, very few that will make that happen. And then the second is Sundance. A lot of filmmakers don't really get here unless you have a movie playing at the festival, but it's such a great experience to play here and to wander around and see movies and be inspired. They also make you travel. They take you on the road, which is also amazing. I've been to Rome, I've been to Notre Dame, I've been involved in some of the decision-making processes, and again, it's horizons that they open up for you.
Great. This one's for Andrew. We talked a little earlier today. Andrew has, I just want to make sure I get it correct, a reasonable quest here at Sundance. One of the things that we talked about earlier, when you're looking for talent for your films and things of that nature, especially when you're on a limited budget, networking. It was networking, correct?
Yes.
Okay, tell us a bit about that.
Well, it's nice to know people.
Well, it's good. It's great to know.
That helps with the budget. I think for us, in particular, this project, we didn't have financing outside of what I paid and what my co-producer paid. So a lot of it relied on friends of friends, and the talent we were able to get were because I knew friends that knew them.
Okay.
And likewise with kind of all the keys, the editors, cinematographers, everyone kind of chipped in. And I think that's maybe sort of speaks to how filmmaking happens on a broader scale, because inevitably you are calling on your peers to help lift you up. And I think that's how you achieve success. And you see the people that, when you first come to Hollywood, it's not so much the Harvey Weinstein that calls you right away. It's when your friend has access to something and says, hey, come over here and meet my boss and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right, no worries. So let me ask, I guess, okay, so let's say I'm a filmmaker, I have 30 friends, I need someone who, that maybe they're not actors. were there any actual resources you went to find maybe friends of friends, like social media, things of that nature? But other than just, hey, I know a friend, are there actual tools that you could maybe lend to us, other than how to get to know people in the industry?
Less so social media, but I think Facebook is a great way to reach out. I think more fundamentally, being able to ask for help when you need it is big and key. And I think people will want to rally around that if you're kind of authentic and come at it with an idea that people want to rally around.
In the talent side, is anyone out here with filmmakers have had trouble finding talent for your films or for your shorts or anything of that nature? Or is it something that's always been easily acceptable because you have enough friends? Or is it social media, like you said, has been the thing for you? Anyone out here?
So you can also use a lot of online resources now, so that makes a lot easier.
So again, I'll give you that.
You can just use a lot of online resources now, so whether you have friends or not, like you can pay or not pay. There's thousands of people around the world. You can look at their photos, look on everything, but it's more than people have in the past.
Right, this one's for Sam. So we actually forgot to mention two things. One, the hashtag for this is WISFF Sundance for this event. Also, one of the backers is this event is Audition Magic, and we actually have them listening in from Australia. They're based in Sydney, and he's watching in. We'll maybe touch base with us later. One of the things with Sam being with social media and things of that nature, had an interview with him regarding one of the programs that offer people an ability to reach thousands of talent with minimal monthly fees. So I think it's Audition Magic.
Yeah. So the company's actually Audition Magic, and I got to interview Brad Hayden today. I'm averaging this buy his product. No, I got to interview him today, and it's actually a really great service. That it's known as a SaaS, software as a service product that actually connects everyone to everything in the film industry. So you get to connect everyone from talent, you get to connect producers and everyone all together. But in addition to that, there's a lot of cool features that allow you to upload your audition material. You can go on and, back in the day, you'd have to like use a VHS tape or something like that. Now you can literally do an audition from your cell phone, upload it to the site, and have people have their interview and your audition going straight through that. It's a really neat product. This isn't necessarily my industry, but it's a really cool product that I got to discuss with you today.
Right. So, and I know with TED Talks, social media aspect. I'm going to kind of move on. We've talked about talent, and this is the tool. So with marketing, I want to get my movie out there. I don't have $15,000, $20,000. I have $100. What's your expertise in how to get my film out there with minimal budget?
Yeah, so my background is digital marketing expertise in search engine optimization, search engine marketing, digital marketing, and social media marketing. So one thing that you said, you have all these resources. So the one thing that I find is that people are finding reasons for why their films aren't being seen by a bunch of people, when in actuality, it's not about the resources you have, it's about the resourcefulness of you as an individual to make what you want to happen. And so some of the specific platforms that I prefer to use is Facebook. That's one of the best ad platforms that there is. In that the data that's collected is so significant, it's creepy. So for instance, if I wanted to target 18 to 24-year-old African Americans who drive an SUV, female, and have 3 kids, and they get average budget of $40,000 within the Salt Lake City area, I could do that. So obviously, for your film, if you're looking to target a specific kind of users as opposed to the whole populace, it makes it that you can narrow it down literally to age, gender, whether or not they use credit cards, and there's a lot more creepy data that's available from Facebook that I'm happy to discuss another time if you guys want to get into that.
As filmmakers, what sources do you all use to market your films?
So we had kind of an interesting story because we've been online for 6 months prior to getting accepted to Sundance. And we chose the digital route mainly because of giving it access to a broader swath of people. So our platform was video, but from there we were very cognizant to sort of seed it to different blogs, and we followed a very rigorous, protocol of being vigilant on Facebook and liking everything that everyone comments on and commenting on those comments. It stays kind of top of feed for as long as possible. And then once you get it into kind of the lower blogs, you can take those excerpts and feed them to the bigger blogs and hopefully kind of create this cascade of momentum. And fortunately, we also kind of won the lottery and also got into Sundance. We weren't expecting it. And then when I met the programmers, I was like, you guys know it's online, right? So.
All right, well, Randall, as someone who's made so many films, what would you suggest they do? I mean, obviously, we've mentioned a lot of the things that I'm sure you already know. We already know about Facebook. Is there anything out there that you feel is an alternative, or just basically saying the same? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty. It's amazing for me because most of my movies at this stage are released in the studio. So, back in the older days, I like to refer to. We didn't have social media; it didn't really exist. But today, it's unbelievable how, really, without social media, your movie can die on the vine. So, I'm really kind of trying to educate myself every single year with the departments within the studio just to understand how relevant you have to be in social media on all platforms. So, to me, really, social media is kind of what I'm always trying to keep up with because it's I didn't have Facebook. I didn't even know what Instagram was until a year ago. I'm a little older. So now I'm forced to educate myself with all these things. I mean, my children are more relevant than I am, so I'm learning. But yeah, that's pretty much like in distribution what I most try to learn these days.
Okay, and I'll say this. I was doing this one to Luke.
Yeah, sure.
You're giving away money. So how are you getting out there to let people know? I mean, are you using social media as well? Is there anything other than Facebook? I mean, I think everybody here we're already using Facebook, Instagram, all those. Is there something else, or what else? Or
Yeah, sure. I think all those outlets are obviously incredibly useful, and I think they're necessary at this stage of this day and age. I think you want to stay current. You want to make sure that you're always at the forefront, and you're not sort of as we're all kind of talking about, sort of falling behind, and you get lost in the dust because everything moves so quickly in this tech age. I think another thing that's incredibly important is just trying to get press. I think having relationships with press outlets is incredibly important. I think it helps boost the legitimacy of whatever you're pushing out there in the world. And so I think this kind of circles back to what we were talking about. Just networking is probably the most important aspect in the film industry. I think it's one person leads to another, something leads to something else. You sort of find what you're best at, and you kind of learn what everyone else does, and you're able to provide value to someone, and someone can provide value back to you. It's a really interesting ecosystem that's created within the film industry. So I think finding those relationships and keeping those relationships strong, and always updating, even if you're current relationships, just keep sending them every piece of information about what you're up to. It keeps them incredibly engaged, and it keeps people interested, and you're always on the top of people's minds. So I think for us and the production fund, it's exactly what we're doing. I think we're trying to get out there. In more than just the film industry. We're trying to just get our name out there, both individually, our individual companies, as well as what we're doing collaboratively. Try to get a lot of festival presence, and I think coming a little bit from my background as a film producer through my other production firm, Buffalo 8, this year, we have 4 films that we're involved with at Sundance that are all premiering here. And a lot of that just has to do with being very diverse in our approach. We foster all our relationships. We do a lot of different things in the industry. We're not focused on just one individual craft. We've learned everything, and we've found ways to sort of provide value to people at different stages. So I think just staying on top of your marketing, making sure everybody knows what you're doing, get out there in the press, forge those relationships, and just networking is key.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of keep digging, guys. What exactly? Because it's kind of broad.
Sure.
I'm gonna ask.
Yeah, I got a lot.
So I'm just gonna say this. No, because it's great. Stay on top. But it's a drill because I want people to lead the way with going. Okay, let me go try this. Okay, for instance, press in magazine. I think we could get an article in the magazine that would kind of help us going. How do we get in touch with you to get our films noticed in a magazine? I mean, exactly.
So,
Please.
All right, these are the secrets, guys.
Okay.
There's obviously right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it. Surprisingly, the worst ones that do this are PR firms. It's the most BS canned email you'll get that says, I have this client, they have something to do with healthcare. I'm like, I'm a business writer, this makes no sense to me. So you have to curate the email. If you get their contact information, curate the email to be revolved around that writer. So for someone like me who writes for Inc. Entrepreneur, if you refer to me in an email and you're like, hey, I really appreciated this pretty piece that you wrote, I think there'd be something that I can contribute based off of what that goes off of. And that can start building a relationship. Also for me, all different writers are different, but I enjoy a lot of comedy. So like one time someone put a GIF of a dog dancing in a tutu in the email, I'm like, I'm talking to them. I need to talk to these people. It was like a long email, and I like powered through it, got through the whole thing, and then I was like, P.S. if you're able to get through this, enjoy the dog GIF. So it depends, but surprisingly, even just like retweeting content on Twitter specifically, not really Facebook, but more so for me, if you're retweeting my content that I'm writing for those publications on things like Twitter, and you're actually pointing out what specifically you like about the content, and you're like, yo, I like point number 4 of this list of 10 things, go in depth with it. Don't just say, great article by Samuel Edwards. I'll just be like, okay, cool, thanks, end of relationship. So I think being as down to earth and real about it is the best way to go. And definitely don't hesitate to reach out. Some people may not respond, but if you seem like you're legitimate and down to earth and not just doing it straight for the publicity, more often than not, we're willing to take the time out of our days to respond to it.
Anyone here was able to get press for their project outside of just going to friends? Yeah, can you give us a little bit of background on that? How you did it?
Yeah, my project's not completed yet, but I was able to get press. I actually do PR, but I'm a journalist, so I'm a little different kind of PR agent because I understand storytelling. But I do my own press release, put it on PR Newswire, and I got covered in 4 newspapers and on WBZ. They gave me an 18-minute segment just to talk about the topic, which is Black men dying young. So that was a great opportunity. 18 minutes on radio.
Yeah, so what exactly, I'm trying to build down, exactly what did you do? I mean, so they can make it
the
follow.
press release, it wasn't just like Sean's making a film. I mean, I wrote a story, I wrote a lead, to capture people. And, I had quotes in there, I made it for myself. And I related it back to some things that were happening. So for instance, my hometown, where I'm shooting the film, is really close to Ferguson. And I had actually started shooting before the Michael Brown killing happened, but I was like, wow, there's a cook right there. People don't know where Alton, Illinois is, but if you say Alton, Illinois is 15 miles north of Ferguson, and they have pretty much the same racial makeup and the same issue with their police department, then that got some attention.
Okay. And there was somebody else who raised their hand.
I was just going to say it's very close to that, just getting first by being in close to what you're saying. Very targeted to journalists, what they write about. If you write to someone and you have no idea what they write about, they will be pissed.
Yeah.
So really be like, I like this article for this, exactly what you said, and that works. I think they really like you being specific and knowing that, hey, you really care about this issue, this is what my movie's about, and like you said, they will reply, so.
Just for a hand, you go ahead, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, another thing I think that's, Sam can probably corroborate is, make it as easy as possible for them to respond, do all the work you can for them, create the case for action, give the little, whatever sort of quotes you have from other media outlets, put that email, link to whatever the piece of work is, or the trailer, or the Kickstarter, contact information, so on and so forth. Right?
Yeah, that's definitely reasonable. And so I probably get hit up by PR firms anywhere between 80 to 100 times a day trying to get publications. And so what you're referring to is known as newsjacking. And it's when you take a story about Ferguson and making something that's also relevant to what your story is. So that's actually a great idea. So if you have a specific movie or something that's relevant to something that's actually going on in social media right now, you can actually take over the main story with your story by actually bringing that up. So I don't want to say Bill Cosby is a good example, but Hannibal Buress, the comedian, was actually the one that brought out everything that happened with Bill Cosby and kind of took over the story like that. So newsjacking, if you're able to do it, it's difficult, but if you're able to do it like you did, that's fantastic. But definitely with the emails that you send out, just be considerate. When you respond to your own email that you're sending out, that's what you have to consider. Don't just make it, just be as personalized as you possibly can. Because the canned emails, sometimes I can't even tell the difference between 30 different emails, and it is super frustrating to have to deal with that. And so it's usually just goes to spam. So that's why you don't get a response on that.
I just wanted to add that for me, in my experience, there were 2 press kind of rounds. One press round was where you kind of write, like you said, your own kind of press release. and target it to the websites that are genre specific to your project, and that's your audience. And they kind of just copy that and put it in as a news outlet. And then the second round was once your project is really done and out there, and you need reviewers. And that's a little harder to get people to review your work and write about it in a hopefully positive way. Again, that would really have to be specific to your product. And the last thing we did was this web series that was very much about girls and girls' issues. And we got written up by Marie Claire, and all of a sudden we're very, very popular in France. And, you know, it just kind of snowballed.
So let me ask this, so Randall, with all this, I've been guessing you have people to write these press releases for you. Okay. All right.
I'm a bad writer.
Okay.
I don't have any of those skills.
How many people out here have written a press release for themselves? Okay, less than that. Okay. So I think obviously that might be one of the things we can look at and try and learn how to do. With you, what is one of the biggest tools that you would not do without as a filmmaker? What tool can you use? In general, like if there's basically this is I'm kind of moving on to the tools part of this. What tool that you use that you would not do without, basically to get your films made, heard, seen, creative? Is there any one thing that you just would not do without?
Well, I'm a little stumped today. I don't know. I mean, I think every part of the business is really, key. I mean, I'm 80-something movies in, and every movie teaches me something new. So just when I think I have it nailed, it's like, well, I just get laid out. So I don't know. Working with writers really is where it starts for me, and these writers are to me the most amazing humans in the world. I mean, to be able to sit down. I have ADD, as you can probably see, I'm all over the place. So like to sit in a room and type up a 90 or 100-page script is still the most amazing thing to me. So I don't know, it always starts with the writer for me, and really that's not just, obviously we need a script to make a narrative film, but it's more than that for me. It's just that whole really special experience that I spend a lot of time prior, at this point we can greenlight movies very quickly in a matter of days, but we still hold back from that because, you want to try to get the best script possible. And even with the greatest filmmakers in our industry, I think they always go back to script, and sometimes we forget that. There have been moments in our career where the money is just there in your face and you're supposed to spend it, and you make bad films. I've made 80-something films, and there's a lot of bad ones in there too, and that's probably because we just rushed and we're like, it's ready to go, and it wasn't ready to go. So, we try to, I just use one experience. I just finished a film with my idol, Martin Scorsese, and he spent 2 years straight. I mean, he could have greenlit this movie any day of the week, and 2 years rewriting and working with different writers. And I was like, are we ready to go? And he's like, no, not yet. And I was like, next week, the week. I mean, it went on and on and on. And it just shows you, filmmakers who really cherish story will spend as long as it takes to get it right. So for me, it goes back to the script. That was a long speech.
No, I think we want to hear. Yeah, so, go ahead, yeah, please, if you have anything to add to that.
No, I just got the mic.
You are-
He speaks better than I do.
But I can hear
I just wanted to move the momentum that
I think the tools are useless unless you have a good story.
Well, okay, how many writers are out here? Oh, wow. Okay, so with the writers, what's the best way to get their work seen by someone like you? Yeah, sorry.
Shit. What's the best way? In this room, you can just contact my office because we're at Sundance and I love the independent community, so that would be the best way for this room. Not the entire community, but just this room. I think it's awesome, and Sundance was really one of the most special places for me 20 years ago when I came here with the dream just to get a movie on this festival. It's awesome. Congratulations to everybody or anybody that's part of filming. But the way that we traditionally do it is it goes through an agent, and then an agent submits it to somebody in development in my office, and they know what I like and what I don't, and then if it makes it through there, then it would come to me. And one of my development people are right there, Alex, raise your hand. So you can get his number and office and email, and he'll read your stuff. So that's it. Yeah. He will read it all. Because when I say we'll do something, we do it. So we will read. So yeah, but I mean, I think that's really, for us, it comes through an agency, unfortunately, at this stage, because we have so many submissions. But there are also ways that I found scripts that I really never thought I'd make a movie. And a guy in an elevator once hit me up and told me to write it. I was like, yeah, okay. And then he's like, you gotta read it, and I promise, and there's an agent at CA, and I promise he'll back me up. I'm like, okay. And then I took the script, and I called the agent who happened to be a friend of mine, and he's like, the script is great. And I was like, okay, the guy's not a lunatic. And I read it that weekend, and then we greenlit the movie, and we made it for like $22 million. So it does happen in crazy ways. It's just more traditional just to call Alex. Ask me about it, my friend.
So I think, okay, so with the funding, so obviously, did anyone use $20,000 for the next project?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right, let's try to be straight. So with what you're doing and how you're basically saying, as far as getting that access, tell us exactly what process is that you use to basically get the next project. So if somebody in here had a pitch and wanted to get it to you, one of the things I think short films, correct, are back in the game, and you have a fun, I'm trying to say it, it's a mouthful. The Screencraft, I'm trying to.
Yeah, Screencraft is the short production fund backed by Bondit.
So short film, yeah, so how do you do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely, it's a good question. I guess the first step, like I mentioned before, you just simply apply. And, we have an excellent team of reviewers that more or less kind of sources the most quality scripts. And from there, I think what we were kind of, an interesting point that we were kind of getting at there was, everyone has a different path. Screeners have very different paths. It could be something like you meet a producer in an elevator, but a lot of the time it's how do I even, there's many instances where screenwriters just try to pick something in and just get, no one's even going to pay attention. So it's a matter of how do you make something meaningful and how do you make those meaningful introductions. And I think that's something that I've definitely seen over several years, and part of what we're trying to do here is provide and facilitate that kind of step in between. Okay, I have something. I'm a talented, I'm a talented artist, and getting it into the right hands. We're trying to push and create a facilitator to get it and to make sure that person gets those resources, both financially, but also just those networking resources, so that this person is now someone that exists in the industry. It isn't just sort of throwing spaghetti on the wall and trying to make it stick. So I think, the kind of 360 of what I'm trying to say here is just going back also to the tools. I think the most important part of the filmmaking process, artists, is the people that you know and the team that you regularly work with, and creating more or less like a family environment, and continuing to go back and finding a mentor and providing you with that facilitation to get to the next level. Because once you have a team behind you, and whether that be an agent or a manager, or both, or a combination, or a producing partner, it's much easier to get in the right, to get your stories in the right hands, and to get the films made. So yeah, that's sort of the little roundabout answer to all both questions.
I didn't even think about that. A mentor is really super key. For me, especially in my life, I had 2 or 3 mentors that really made a difference in where I am today. And I think that's a great idea, is that reach out to somebody in the business, reach out to somebody and go to them and say, look, I'm just coming up in this business, and would you mentor me, would you help me go through the guild, whether it's Producers Guild, or Writers Guild, or Directors Guild. Even if you're not a member, you can still go as an aspiring filmmaker, and they will give you somebody. It's really, really great. I should have said that from the get-go, because there are 2 or 3 people in my life that made a big difference. So, yeah.
I have something to add to this, because my road has really changed once I put my script through all the screenwriting competitions out there, and people I never knew before responded to it, and suddenly I'm winning all these competitions, and it completely changed my path. And then I tried it out with friends of mine to see if it would work the same way, who's been kind of writing in his closet, for a couple of years, and he keeps sending me these drafts, and finally I'm like, okay, it's ready. Now it's ready, send it out. And he's like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to send it out? I'm like, all these competitions, this is the 10 competitions you're going to send it to. First one, he goes and he wins. And really, he has been kind of out of touch with the industry for 7 odd years. So it's a valid path to try these festivals and these screenwriting competitions, because good work will rise to the top like the cream, and it will get some recognition. And if it's not rising, rewrite it, because you have that power, and you can give it to people to read and find the flaws and keep rewriting, and eventually it's good enough.
We have a question in the back.
Yeah, I believe it's Tony, right? Sorry, wait. Yes.
Randall.
Randall, but I told you.
Sorry.
I'm good anyway.
Sorry, I haven't tried.
No, it's okay.
Appreciate it, Rick.
I've been called a lot of things.
I hope all good. So you said something about a mentor, and it really honed in, and I didn't quite get a clarification on it. I know I can call up offices of people that I admire or wish to be like, as far as a producer, actor, or whatever. But you said something about going to a guild that they have. Did I hear you right that they have programs that?
Yeah, I mean, my guild, the Producers Guild, has a program. I don't know the DGA or the Writers Guild, but I know that they're very, very welcoming, at least, in taking on potential new members. So if you called up new membership or somebody in the WGA or the DGA or the PGA and said, look, I'm an aspiring producer, I'm just starting out, I really would like to link up with somebody in the industry to mentor me, to show me kind of the ropes, give me some advice. I would be shocked that they would not take you. And the PGA, I know, would do it, and I'm sure the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild would do the same. But, my whole path, let's just say, to my own, whatever quasi-success you would say I have, was just the determination of never taking no. So, I would just get on the phone and just start calling, start there, and then work your way up until you find somebody that will, mentor you. But yeah, that was my take.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Just a couple more questions. How many out here? How many people out here have actually submitted to Sundance? Okay, so okay, this is okay. So one of the things we talked about, Andrew, about the importance of the short, about how that can get marketing for just the branding and partnering with short to proof of concept. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that might be able to help us to get a short and be able to get to Sundance or get to another type of film festival. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think thus far it's proven a great calling card. I think it's, if you want to do a feature, it's sort of incumbent on you to have a proof of concept if you've never made a feature, in addition to the script or story that you want to make. But, I mean, my personal experience has been, yeah, I think, I've gotten calls and meetings out of it. So I think the short can certainly help your trajectory. And it's a great way to also experiment, not only in form and function, but also in a particular story that you're interested in that might not necessarily lend itself to 90 pages or 100 pages. So.
Anyone have a short that they've done in the last 6 months or a project? Anyone in the audience? Okay.
I've done a short. I just finished it in August, screened it to about 200 of my friends, and just, yeah, I'm kind of at a loss. I've submitted it to a bunch of festivals, but as some of you may know, Sundance had like 12,000 entries this year, so it's very competitive, and I'm just, excited to at least have finished and have an audience to watch it.
Someone else, I think they had to have their hand up about the short. No?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, I finished a couple of 5-minute shorts and when I can get to them, I work on such a short. But I don't submit to festivals because of the likelihood of numbers like that to the major festivals, the ones that won't give you some traction. So I'm usually a little discouraged with festivals. Trying to find people to pick them up on their site and get the market. I use it more to get jobs rather than getting into a festival.
it could still be approved as concept, right?
Can I provide comment to that?
Yeah.
I did not expect my short to get into Sundance or any other film festival for that matter. So I would say the lesson is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That is true, but there's also the amount of money you have to put into submitting to festivals. You're independent, you're making this on the pennies that you make on your minimum wage job. So do you have any advice for filmmakers who are trying to hit the major festivals, which need you to throw down a certain amount of money, and then once you throw down a certain amount of money, there's other things about, obviously you have to go to the festival and funding all of that. Because if you strike out, if you do really well, and 10 festivals are like, come, some of those festivals don't have the funding to actually provide you to your airfare and that sort of thing. Like, so what kind of advice would you have if you're that lucky person who gets to travel with your film?
It's still expensive. It's pricey. I think the most expensive part of it that I've encountered has been once you're in, creating the DCPs, sending it to festivals, creating postcards. But I think if you get to that point, what's that? Yeah, I think someone will help you. I mean, the entry fee, I don't know. I think there's platforms that help you.
Waivers for those. I've tried really hard to get waivers for those fees.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can ask, and certainly if you get into certain festivals, then other festivals will be more lenient in terms of waiving that entry fee.
And I think applying to his $20,000, would work.
That too.
Yeah, right?
That will happen, yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's other value as well to producing, to just making short films. I know, for instance, one of the films that we have right now premiering, a feature-length film, As You Are, that was adapted from a short film. It came across our desk, I guess it was about 1.5 years ago. We started developing it internally with a few of our producers, and the next thing you know, we're sitting here in a team competition. So, I think there's a ton of merit. It's very important for filmmakers to use these short films as practice grounds. And even when I say practice grounds, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a shot in the dark. It just means that if you're going to have a financier come in and take a huge risk on you, it's great to have that proven track record of at least seeing an executed project. It's make it analogous to any kind of business in the world. If you're going to invest in someone or in a team, you want to see something that they've done in the past. So I think short films are just incredibly important, and they always have been, and they'll continue to be a sort of a part of the development of a great filmmaker.
Okay, we're kind of getting around to the end, so I wanted to ask this. We have, give me 1 second. I wanted to ask this. I think we have great people who've done it and are doing it. Very few questions, so I'm asking, what are your challenges? You have people who've done it and come over. What's the number 1 or number 2 challenge that you have with your film projects? Is it getting it made? Is it finding the money? Is it finding the talent? Is it finding the tools? Is it staying up with the trends? What questions do you guys have?
So that's back to that. Once you get into a festival, right now applying for a feature-length doc and hoping to get in somewhere. How do you, once you get there, get it distributed, made in terms of if you don't have a sales rep or if you don't have money for publicists, should we just go in and network as much as we can and without a sales rep? How do we get it out there after?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to jump in on that. I think that there's no exact science to how this is done. I know I've been reading this over everyone's head, but networking really is very key. I know personally a ton of sales agents that are niche to particular types of films, particular sizes of films. And once you have to sort of get past the point where it's just kind of shotgunning it out to a bunch of people. Once you do have a few key relationships, they help guide you in the right direction. And they'll help you, if it's one sales agent or distributor that may not necessarily, it's their cup of tea, they may say, okay, but I know someone that can really help you out and help guide you that way. And I think also, having a lot of what is very valuable to filmmakers, I think, is having an agency or a team behind you to help really push it, because they have their own resources and their own way of sort of handling business. So I think, it's really truly is about networking and it's about having a team behind you that you trust, and it turns into a family over time.
So if you don't have an agency, what do you do at that festival?
Oh, I think you should find other sales companies. You should talk to them directly because they want to see your work. You know, even if it's honestly even shot in the dark, they're still going to take a peek at it for sure. And again, it's something where if they see the merit in it, you know, they're in the business, and if it's something that they feel like it's going to be, they're going to want to take a look. So I think you know, just cold reaching out to them. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's how I've done it in the past. And now again, as time goes on, they start to build trust in you, and it's no longer kind of just a shot in the dark. But still, I think just the cold call approach, as silly as it sounds, I think it's just a tremendous thing that everyone should do in every business. And a lot of businesses are founded that way. It's having that drive and that passion, perseverance to get known and sort of be a brand in and of yourself almost.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so we have a show, we started this four episode arc thing, and it's half live, half tape show, so we have events and we put it on. And we started putting them on to get attention for the film parts, so we have both of it. Now we have a whole, like, it could go to a feature, it could be a pilot type of thing, but now we're stuck like, okay, now what? We have attention, people like to see it, people show that we can make film scenes. But like getting an agent, or how do you get attention for it? It's like everyone around town's like, yeah, it feels great, but now what? Like we're stuck in that part of how do we take it somewhere else?
Yeah, sure. No, I honestly think it's still about finding the right partner that sees the vision and can help facilitate it in a positive direction. You know, if it's something where it feels like it's in a little bit of a limbo, I think it requires having some kind of producer with the wherewithal that really understands what you're trying to do and kind of formulate and pitch it in the correct manner to the correct party. And you know, if it's something, again, if there's merit behind it and it's a good project, something will stick and it will get made.
But just sending it to people and like, hey, check this out, and like sizzle.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
look, again, I've done the shotgun approach in the past, and sometimes it works, but it's, you know, again, it's like anything else, there's no guarantee. I really would just keep saying it's something where it's a process to forge a lot of these relationships. This is the way that it is. And I think if you do, you know, kind of circling back to the marketing, you know, if you pull a very clever marketing thing, or, you know, if there's some kind of attention grabbing technique that you're using in conjunction with kind of circulating yourself with the right people, it'll sort of formulate itself over time. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I agree with the marketing. I also think that, I mean, when I did my first movie, when the dinosaurs were roaming a long time ago, I had no agent. I had no publicist, no nothing. I just had a movie that I was putting together and trying to raise the money. I agree with cold calling. I had no fear, and I think that's the only way to do it. I think first you should, at least the way I did it, is get an article written, call it Deadline Hollywood, tell them you're doing this series. They'll write about it. That'll be out there. Then all of a sudden you can go to an agency, whether it's Gersh, Morris, CA, independent division, say you got this project, and they'll turn you on to something. But the article will legitimize the idea. And I know it sounds so crazy, like, get an article, but that's how I did it, and it worked, and it's still working. So maybe if I don't know what we're making, I'm still getting written. So I'm just, my opinion is have somebody write about what this idea is, because that obviously is a tangible, legitimate series that you guys are building. And whether it's Deadline, Variety, or whoever else, Reporter, somebody will write it about. You just pick up the phone and say, my production company just cleaned up this series, and we're on episode 4, and this is what it is. And all of a sudden, now you have an article, and all of a sudden, it's a lot easier to make that phone call to an agency representative.
We're running out of time, so I figure we could do this last question. Oh, you did something?
I don't know my part.
I'm just out of time.
Well, why don't we do this?
There's a lot
Let's
more
just
to
Sam
that.
real quick. Let's do it this way. I think if there was one thing you would advise, and I'll kind of put myself in there. So we're doing this documentary, we have Broadway stars involved, we have all this, we're doing it at the Gershwin Theater. What's the one advice you give me and them? What's the one thing we need to do to make sure we can be successful at this? What is the thing? What is it?
Yeah, so for me, especially being in marketing and digital and really understanding that aspect of it, it's really, like you're saying, what next? What happens now? It's not about And the really big takeaway that I've learned up until my point in my career up to this point is it's not about the resources you have, it's about the resourcefulness of you as an individual. When I was growing up, I grew up in a kind of poor family. I didn't have anything handed to me. It was everything starting my first salary job when I was 19 up until where I'm at today. And so there's always a way to get it. So whether it's financing or whether it's, you need someone to help you out with the writing or whatever aspect of it is, you can always continue it. There's not just stopping. So for instance, where you decided not to send it into film festivals, that's a little frustrating for me to hear, not to point you out there, but because you can always do something. There's not just, if you need funding, if you need something, there's always a way to go about it. You just have to be really curated to the way you're going about it. And while you're sleeping, other people are working harder than you. So that's something to consider.
And Luke, yeah, what would you say?
No, I agree. I think do something is probably a good tagline for the industry. You just got to get out there. You got to make something. You have to do something. You have to use, like saying, every resource that you possibly can, even if it feels asinine. You just, I sort of anecdote from the way that both my producing partner and I started. We used to just blast out emails to everybody. You probably still get a lot of blasts. We're known to do a lot of email blasts. But it honestly, it's really the way to build yourself as an individual, as a brand. And things can go a long way. I mean, again, just speaking on that short film that came across our desk, and now here it is premiering. The idea of what we're trying to do again with this fund is to find that kind of emerging talent and hopefully adapt that into a film. Come on board as producers, and hopefully next year I'm sitting here with the Sundance short, and the year after that with the adapted feature version. That's the goal. So I think just get out there and do it. I know that's sort of the age-old story. Everyone always says that, but it really is. It's a fundamental truth of the industry. It's just about making moves.
Good question. I was going to say dogs and boo-boos.
It works.
I guess I would suggest not a material piece of advice, but a mindset. And that is, people want you to succeed. And I say that because I think coming into the industry, there's a lot of anxiety about how you're going to be judged. And particularly as a creative, you see that when you're reticent to submit work or to, I still don't want to watch my own movies because I'm nervous that something's wrong. But there was a casting director that was telling me, she said, her piece of advice to actors was, when you go into the room, the actor's super nervous, but what they don't realize is every actor that comes in is an opportunity for that casting director to make the right decision in the cast. So they want you to be good. And I think the same thing is true with any piece of cinema or script that you're writing. The people that you're sending it to, they're rooting for it to be good because they want to find it, they want to discover it. And I think that's kind of what I found in this process is people legitimately are hoping to find something great. So put it out there.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. All I can say is just, never give up and be relentless in your pursuit to be successful. Like you said, it's the most cliche in the world, but you have to get used to rejection a little bit and not take it so personal. We're all artists in this room. I assume everybody here, their heart is in what they do, including myself, as Hollywood is sometimes people think I am. But no one likes getting rejected. Nobody doesn't like seeing their movie get made. The art is the passion. That's why we're all doing this. So I just never gave up. I continue to get rejected on a daily basis. If I make an offer to an actor, they reject me and that movie doesn't happen. And that sucks. And I go home and I'm pissed. And then I put it back together. The next day I come up with another act or another way to find a way to get that, because that director's relying on me to deliver his dream to get that movie into production. So we all have a dream in making films, and being part of a film, and just don't give up. And one thing to you, I want to pay for the next 5 film festivals for you because it is upsetting to me. And whatever you pick 5 film festivals, I'll be.
I don't know. I'll hop on sort of the mindset say, you know, don't be delusional, like, about your work, because I encounter this all the time. Like, people watch my films and they give me criticisms, and I'm as self-critical about my work as I am about other people's work. And so if, you know, if you watch somebody's film and you give them a piece of advice or something that's not working for you, chances are the same things aren't working in your project. So I think just being rigorous with yourself is really, really important in this business, and be better.
Well, thank you guys. Anything else? I want to thank you all. Thank you very much for your insight. Thank you all for coming. One of the things I did want to say is what they just said was, you know, show up and look what happened. So I think it's great. Again, we'd like to thank the Art Lounge. I'd like to thank my partner, we're going to turn on some music and serve some beverages. So I'd like to hang out for a little bit. We appreciate it. And thank you guys for coming.